let's get right into it. So, the New York Giants, we had that last preseason game and unfortunately lost 6-10. But don't fret, none of the starters, none of our starters, no one on the Jets, none of their starters played. This game was more so about a tryouts for who wanted to not get cut. As you well know, today is the deadline for cuts, and cuts were made on the New York Giants squad. And as we can see, the Jets game was tryouts for most of these guys, and some guys didn't make the cut. As far as people who, and I really just want to talk about that. For this episode, it's not really important to talk about that game again for the fact that none of the starters were in. Even Tommy DeVito, I won't even speak on his performance because none of the starters were in for him. And usually he really does thrive and does well when the starters are playing. He can work with a lot, but he was working with a little. And that's just for fact. It was a little bit upsetting to see JMS go out with a little bit of an injury, as well as Evan Neal just coming back in. And, the thing with Evan Neal, since he did make the roster, is at this point, Evan Neal needs to move to guard. Because as we've seen, especially through a few joint practices, the one that he was able to participate in, you can't run through the guy. You can't bull rush him. But you can speed around him easily. Bend that corner, get to the QB, make a sack, put a pressure. He's lost in the sauce. But you put him in the mix, even put him at center. I don't care. Anywhere where he's able to just be a wall, that's his value at this point. Otherwise, trade the guy off, send him. Because what we've been able to see, especially what he was not able to do against the Jets third stringers, it was just horrible. You had some guys, John Giles, who had that nice hurdle, but didn't really, no one really cared about that. It was cool to see though for end of a preseason game, but you want to see TDs, and 6-10, whatever. Just no touchdowns. So let's look into the people who got cut. So currently, right now, looks like with the roster cut, you have Raheem Lane was cut. This looks like safety. Jimmy Morrissey cut. Guard center, we have that filled in with Grant Van Groten and Austin Schlottman. Hopefully JMS. Turbo, it was a little upsetting, we didn't get to see Turbo in the mix because Dante Turbo is seemingly a phenomenal player. And I'd like for him to be a part of the Giants because that guy is just so fast. So I expect that Dante Turbo Miller will be brought back on the practice squad. You don't want to lose a guy like that. He's tough. Defensive back Alex Johnson, Marcellus Johnson, offensive lineman, inside linebacker KJ Cloyd. And I thought he did well. Outside linebacker Tom and Fox. But the linebacker room was really crowded. So, we have to get rid of some guys and make some hard decisions. But both of those guys played phenomenally well. And I expect them to, maybe even hit the practice squad for both of them. If not, go on to another team. Jack Stoll, yeah, he had to go. We have enough talent at the tight end position between Daniel Bellinger and Theo Johnson, and besides Chris Manhertz, I saw an interview with him and he really loves to block. He's really good at blocking, knows his role, plays his role well, and is a big body, big person to be able to fill that position in nicely. So there's no reason to keep four. So thanks, Jack Stoll, and he came from the Eagles, so could have been part of the decision making right there. Inside linebacker Darren Beavers. He had to go. Could have played way better. Isaiah Hodgins, a little bit of a shock there. Hopefully, he gets back on the practice squad. You know, personally liked Isaiah Hodgins, but I thought it was really going to be a toss-up between Isaiah Hodgins and Allen Robinson. Between who they decided that they wanted to keep, but it seems as if both of those guys got chopped. Lorenzo Lingard, running back. John Giles, as I mentioned earlier, a year Asante, probably because of that fumble during that kick return. That's definitely what got him cut. Outside linebacker or offensive lineman Marcus McKeithen, a little bit of a shock, but didn't really progress as much as probably they expected. So got the boot. Kyler Bow, Trey Kaiser, Christian Holmes, Clayton Isbell, Allen Robinson, Miles Boykin, Trey Herndon was getting burnt all over the place, definitely. Darnay Holmes, Jacob Johnson, Joshua Kelly, Breon Borders, Matt Nelson, Lawrence Cager, maybe brought back to the practice squad. Knows the offense, could play at wide receiver, tight end. Brian DeBold did talk about him in high regards during training camp, so we'll see what happens with that. But looks like he suffered another injury, very injury prone. Ovi Ogufo, Timmy Horn, Jonathan Sutherland, Jude McTaname. And that seems to be the list brought out. So I think that was published by Patricia Traynor. Follow her on X. She gives some really good information on the New York Giants. But that seems like the cuts that was given. And so, not really anything to cry about. I think they cut exactly where they needed. And we have a 53-man roster. There is some, from what Brian DeBold seemed like in the interview that he gave earlier today, it does seem like the Giants may make a few moves. Whether that means trading for a player, releasing a player to acquire a player. Right now, this is the 53-man roster, but things are liable to change. Players are liable to get sent to acquire new ones to fill in positions because, as we know, we need a quarterback. We need a little bit more help in that secondary. So I think the Giants are going to make the necessary moves, and I think there is still something yet to come, especially when we have that $18.5 million in cap space. That's bread to spend, bread to do some big things. And the Giants are looking to make a big splash. I think we're a dark horse in this league. I don't necessarily think that what we saw on the preseason games, because of the play calling being very minimal, I really don't think that it's anything to fret about. I really don't think that, we need to be worried about DJ. He's just getting off a little bit of rust. And I think that these boys are ready to turn up. We essentially have another bye week right now, a little bit of a break, and then they'll probably head back to practice and get back to it. But for now, that's just the breakdown. Those are the roster cuts, and we have our 53-man roster. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about it once we get some of these surprises that I believe we'll have out of the way. But other than that, let's go Giants. Let's go Blue. This is your boy, GD the Sports Actor. See ya.